Have you ever wondered what the keys to good health are? If you were to ask me this, I would say it is two crucial things. One is to nourish our bodies with the right fuel using nourishing whole plant based foods. The other essential key is this moving our bodies and staying active. We've all heard of the saying, move it or lose it, and I think that's so true, especially if we want to maintain our flexibility and mobility as we age. But being active may not mean structured 1 hour bouts of exercise at the gym 5 days a week. That's great if you can do that, but for many of us, it's not realistic or achievable. We're dealing with busy schedules and physical health challenges that give us little time and ability to move, even though we would love to do more. So, where can we start? By walking. Today, I have the pleasure of bringing to you guest expert Courtney McManus. She's a certified personal trainer and movement specialist with a deep passion to help midlife moms move more. She's a mom of three herself and was the first to bring the stroller fitness franchise to Southwest Florida and operated it for 10 years in Lee and Collier County. So if you're looking for ways to build a stronger, healthier body in addition to eating plant-based, make sure to tune into this episode. Welcome to the Plant-Based Eating Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Anna Zinn, plant-based registered dietitian and transition coach. Hi friend, do you want to regain your health with plant-based eating but feel overwhelmed and lost about how to do it? Do you feel it'll be hard to change your meat-heavy diet and impossible with working, running the home, or chasing after the grandkids? If so, you're in the right place. Here you'll find simple strategies, clear nutrition guidance, and practical tips to help you thrive plant-powered with more energy. So if you're ready to ditch the guesswork and transform your health the stress-free way, cozy up now with a hot cup of tea or listen while you walk, and let me show you how doable plant-based eating can be. Let's do this. Hi friend, welcome to this episode. It's always a pleasure to bring on a guest to the Plant-Based Eating Made Easy podcast, and today I'm thrilled to talk with Courtney McManus. She's a certified personal trainer and movement specialist who wants to help midlife moms move more. She has a love and passion for working with women in the mid-stage. So welcome, Courtney. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
And I'm excited to have you on with us. Could you tell us maybe a little bit about your story? What got you into personal training and your passion for fitness and movement?
Sure. So I came about it in a slightly different way. As a child, I danced. I spent all of my childhood dancing. So I do have that movement aspect in my background. But then I went on and became a teacher and was teaching for a few years when I became pregnant. And that's when I decided I wanted to be at home with my children instead of being out working. And I ended up just kind of falling upon a franchise opportunity where I ended up applying for Stroller Fitness. One of the franchises was looking for people to, open a franchise. And I started one here in Lee and Collier County and operated that for 10 years. And then from there, my passion just grew. I love working with women and helping women move more. And then I also started to learn more about posture and alignment and the importance of whole body health when it comes to movement. And that's kind of where I've ended up at this point. I now own my own business, FormFit, and help midlife moms move more.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your background, how you came to be doing what you do today. I'd love to check with you and ask you, you hear the terms movement and exercise. Is there a difference between the two, and is one maybe more important than the other?
Both are important. As a personal trainer, many people would think I side on more of the exercise aspect, but I really think movement is more important. So Exercise is what you think of with going out, getting 30 minutes of strength training, cardio based training, anything like that, yoga, Pilates, all of that is your exercise. And movement is more about how is your body moving throughout the day? Thinking of different ways that you can move within your body over time. And this doesn't mean exercise based. This doesn't mean getting the heart rate up. It's more about different positions that your body is put into. So that can help with the mobility of the body, especially for longevity. So, sitting on the floor can create a different experience for your hips than sitting in a chair would. Creating small little stretches that you may not think of as exercise, but just stretching like a calf muscle or stretching your toes and your feet out is going to change how your body moves for longevity rather than you getting some sort of exercise based experience from, if that makes sense. So it's not going to affect your strength. It's not going to affect your cardio, but it is going to help keep your joints mobile so that you're able to move more throughout your day and throughout life. And I think that is just as important, if not more important, than exercise. I find that when we think of exercise, many people will think, okay, as long as I do my 30 minutes or my hour long exercise, that is good. And then they end up sitting when you drive, sitting when you eat, sitting when you work, and you spend so much time sitting that that can have an adverse effect on your health, even if you exercise. So my goal is to kind of help people find ways to get a little bit more movement throughout their day. Yes, do the exercise, but also get a little bit more movement throughout your day to help you get that whole movement aspect in your life.
Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate how you clarify the difference between movement and exercise. I think many of us would think that's one and the same thing when it's not. And it's encouraging to hear that from your point of view, moving and movement is actually more important than exercise. Those structured bouts of 30 minutes or 40 minutes or 60 minutes or more of cardio or aerobic or other kind of exercise. But you're kind of taking the focus more down to movement in smaller segments and being more mindful to how your body moves throughout the course of the day and maybe adding in more ways to get that movement in. And that's very encouraging for my listeners because many of them have multiple health issues or health challenges, which can physically limit them from constant pain or other areas or busyness or schedules from being able to do a full hour's worth of exercise regularly. And they may feel defeated and think they're not getting any kind of health benefits from moving because they're not doing that structured form of exercise. But from what you're saying, it seems that you can build in more movement to help your body throughout the course of the day. Is that right?
Yes, most definitely. You can create movement stacks and habit stacks to help you get more movement throughout your day. And I can understand with clients that may not be able to move as well. I really started to think more about this as I started working with a portion of the community with multiple sclerosis. I teach fitness classes for people with multiple sclerosis. And I started to see how maybe the way I was thinking about exercise wasn't applicable to everyone. And I started to learn more about movement as a whole. And then that's kind of where this whole pattern of movement and that all of us need more movement, not just a segment of the population, but it really is important for all of us to practice more movement throughout the day.
I love that. Just what you said about the idea of movement as a whole, because I agree we can all build that in. And it makes the idea of moving and exercise less daunting because it's kind of incorporating this into a part of the normal course of our day and seeing ways to kind of build that in. And I agree that with our modern lifestyles, in general, we are moving into more and more sedentary patterns of life, just with all the computer work, sitting in cars, sitting on trains, or public transportation. There's just so much out there that's against the way that our bodies are naturally meant to function. to be more active and to move. And with health challenges, that just makes things even more difficult, I think. I would like to move to the topic of walking now, because I think walking can seem like a very basic form of exercise. But for some people who may have health limitations, it can be a very good positive first step forward in the direction of more structured exercise. But some may see it as more inferior to other kinds of physical activity or sports. So, are there some specific health benefits, maybe specifically to walking?
There are quite a few, but I'll try to focus in. This is going to help with blood pressure, helps to stabilize blood pressure. It helps with the lymphatic system, so moving that lymphatic so you're not creating stagnation within your body. We wanna be able to move those toxins out of our body, and one of the best ways to do that is through walking. It helps to stabilize your blood sugar, especially if you try to go for at least a 10-minute walk after eating. It is great for your blood sugar. I work most specifically with people in midlife, and that is also a time where our cortisol naturally goes up more. And this can help us to work on calming that down, whether it be through walking in nature or just taking a relaxing walk to kind of bring those cortisol levels down. Just not thinking of it again as I've gotta go out there, pound the pavement, get 2 miles in or whatever you feel, walk fast. Not that way, but more as a way to de-stress at the end of the day or at the beginning of your day, kinda setting your intentions. All of that can help as well. And then one of the other things that is so important because like you had mentioned, we are spending so much more time sedentary, sitting, that we have shortened our psoas muscles. So the muscle is a hip flexor muscle. We've shortened that muscle and we need to work on lengthening that because it connects to the lower back, the spine, and it kind of moves around through to the hip area and attaches to the leg. So we've got to work on lengthening that area again. And one of the best ways to do this is when we're walking, because each time you walk, that leg, that knee gets behind the glute, which is that lengthening of that hip flexor. So it is very important to practice walking, not only for your mental health, but also for your physical health and for the longevity aspect, being able to move and move more fluidly throughout the day.
Wow, so many great benefits to walking. Thank you for sharing that. And I think walking also is weight bearing. It's considered a weight bearing activity. So I'm sure it also helps us to build strong bones. Would that be right?
Yes, weight bearing. I mean, there's other things as well. It helps with the gut microbiota. There's a lot of things that it helps with, and weight bearing is another one that it's great with. And there's a lot of talk as well about, I think it's called rucking, where people will even put a small weighted vest on and walk. And that has been shown to be really good for pelvic health, not in the way of your pelvic organs, but in the way of your hip strength to help increase hip strength so that you're not dealing with fractures and things like that, which we are more susceptible as women dealing with that area, the osteoporosis, osteopenia, things like that.
Yes, I've definitely heard of the wearing a weighted vest. And I think that has been shown in studies to really help also build the benefits of walking into your body. Is there a specific recommended length of time to walk, frequency, intensity, or distance in order to optimize health?
So personally, I take an approach of the more you do, the better. I try not to think so much about the amount, the distance, all of those, because I think that can create some resistance where people feel like if I can't walk 2 miles or if I can't walk for 30 minutes, then I'm not doing good enough. And I like to think that any bit of walking helps. So, no matter where you are on your physical fitness journey, even just for some people, I have some clients where it's walk to the mailbox and walk back inside. That's all I want you to do 5 days a week or 6 days a week, because that is a stretch for them. Any amount of walking is going to be better. And I would obviously encourage you to walk more. I know that you've probably heard 10,000 steps a day, and that is a very good goal. But that doesn't mean that if you don't reach that goal, that you're not getting any of the benefits out of it. So the new conversation is around more like 7,500 steps a day is a great place to be on an everyday basis. Distance wise, again, that's more thinking of your steps. Time wise, whenever you can do this, short blocking tends to work well for a lot of busy people, so that maybe they don't have 30 minutes or 45 minutes to go for a walk at the end of the day. So maybe if you segment doing 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon on your lunch break, and 10 minutes in the evening, that would suffice. And then speed, I like to vary the speed with which I walk, because going at different speeds will change how your body moves and change how your muscles respond. So sometimes moving a little bit quicker, sometimes moving a little bit slower. All of that changes how your body has to handle the movement. So, not any one way is the right way. Just like you promote varying the food that you are eating, that's what I promote with movement, is let's vary how you're moving.
Thank you. Those are great tips. I love your response because you're encouraging more movement in general instead of setting a specific bar that everyone must meet. I think that makes moving and exercise seem much more doable. And I love your idea of how you just have to start somewhere. Maybe it's just walking to the mailbox and back 5 times a week just to get the mail. Or maybe walking up the stairs instead of sending your child to go upstairs to get something for you. These are just small little movement snacks, as you say, that can really make a difference by the end of the day. And blocking it into smaller chunks may be more effective than maybe setting this idea of I have to get out for an hour a day walking when that may not be realistic in a busy mom life. Or if you're busy working or commuting, have to add in commuting to your day as well. So I love the idea of just starting somewhere and then see if you can break it down into smaller chunks of time of just walking or moving. And then in terms of pushing yourself a little bit, so maybe instead of to the mailbox, it's to the end of the block and back 5 times a week. Maybe that would be the next step forward. So just working it up a little bit. So thank you for these ideas and suggestions. Are there any other best practices or ways to move your body during a walk to get the most health benefits?
I like to have people go through the movement and kind of feel different things within your body as you're moving. So a lot of us just kind of walk. We don't think much about walking and how different parts of our body are affected by a walk. And one thing that I like to have my clients focus on, or my listeners focus on, is think about that push off. As you push off from that leg behind you, what is happening at your foot? Our big toe, amazingly, is very interconnected to our whole body. And there's a fascial line that runs from the big toe all the way up through our tongue. And that big toe can be affecting your pelvic floor muscles. So if anybody's dealing with incontinence, which is leaking urine, there might be this situation where that big toe, if you're not getting full push off of that big toe, it might be affecting how your pelvic floor is responding. So working through, can I push off? How does my foot move as I'm pushing off? And then noticing your arms, where your arms, how they're swinging. A lot of people tend to bend their arms when they swing. They'll bend their arms because they've seen people who are out working out hard, they're pumping those arms. But that actually tends to decrease the exertion of the body through movement. So, allowing your arms to just relax beside you and go through a natural arm swing. And you'll hear me talk about, again, thinking about what's happening behind you. So, as you're walking, what is your arm movement doing? Can you get your triceps, so the back of the arm, to create some power as you walk? Which it's always hard when I'm sitting and trying to explain. But as you're walking, imagine that arm pulling back behind you. You'll feel your tricep naturally fire on. That's, like I said, the back of the arm. And then it will naturally swing forward. This is a very good natural movement that occurs. And what's happening as it's doing this is you're getting that gentle massage right under the arm, which there's a lot of lymph nodes in that area. There's a lot of stagnation within our underarm. So, creating that movement, allowing the arm to naturally swing fully, will help to massage that area. Couple other things that you can do. So, we've looked at our feet, how the backside, even how your glutes are firing as you walk, your arms, and then your eyes. I like to have people think about relaxing the eyes. So, when you are looking at things close up, whether it be a book, our computers, our phones, being inside for most of the day, that works our eye muscles like bicep curl would. So, eye muscle is having to work in a shortened position. And when we go outside and we look at something far away, it allows the muscles in the eyes to relax. So even just practicing that when you go for your walk, pay attention. And it doesn't mean you have to do this throughout the walk, but more just notice different things as you're walking and then look at something far away and see how that affects your eyes. You'll feel this slight relaxation. And it's the only thing I can explain it as relaxation of the eye. And all of those things can help on a movement aspect. All of these little things are movements within our body. Even going out in different temperatures and how your skin responds in different temperatures. These are all little movements within the body that we don't even tend to think about. If you think about goosebumps, that is a movement within your body, and it has a lot to do with your blood vessels and capillaries and things like that. So, even that little movement within the body is a helpful experience.
Well, thank you for sharing this. This is so fascinating to hear that there are so many areas we can be mindful of while walking. And it's good to know we don't have to do everything all at once, but maybe just be mindful of the different parts of our body and maybe focusing on that during a portion of the walk. Like you said, the way our arms are swinging and having that natural arm swing and mobilizing the tricep area, or our eyes focusing farther away and really focusing on the clouds or things that are much in the distance. And my daughter actually recently got glasses, and the optometrist did recommend she's go out more and look farther away. That can also help with reducing the speed at which she gets nearsightedness. But I think it's definitely helpful for our eyesight as well, just in general, being able to get away from staring at the screen and the TV and things that are near to us, but really looking farther away. And the different speeds you mentioned and different temperatures and weather conditions. I think being creatures of habit, many of us like to just do the same thing at the same time and in the same conditions. So naturally, if it's raining, we probably don't want to go out. But you're encouraging us to try things differently, change things up a bit. So even going out if it's a foggy or rainy day, or being careful, of course, not to slip, or trying different speeds. So that's all very refreshing to hear. So thank you for these great tips, Courtney. I'd like to ask you, how can those listening today connect with you if they would like to know more about what you do and your services?
So, I do have a podcast, and that is called Moving Through Midlife. And usually, one episode every month is a movement snack, similar to what I mentioned with the walking. I provide you different things to focus on within that movement snack. And then also, I talk to guests like yourself to help us with different tips in regards to our physical health and well being. So that would be where I would start is listening to the podcast, moving through midlife. Or you can also find me by going to my website, which is formfitonline.com. And I will say if it's easier just to go to movingthroughmidlife.com, that will redirect you as well. So movingthroughmidlife.com or the podcast is probably the best way to find me.
Thank you. And I'll be sure to include those links in the show notes so that the listeners will be able to find you and connect with you. So thank you, Courtney, for taking the time to come onto this show and for sharing such great insights and tips on walking and on movement in general and how it can really benefit our bodies, just incorporating it more throughout the course of the day. I know your guidance on this topic will really help many of those who are listening. So thank you, and it's been a pleasure to speak with you today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to the Plant-Based Eating Made Easy podcast. If this podcast has helped you, please rate and leave a written review on the Apple Podcast app or iTunes to let me know. Nothing will lift me up more than to read your review and see how this podcast has made a difference in your life. I also pick reviews to read on this show, so your review could be one of them. Come connect with me in my free Facebook community group, Beginners for Plant-Based Diet Success. Just go to bit.ly/PB Diet Success. That's bit.ly/PB Diet Success. You can also subscribe and follow this podcast to get notified when a new episode goes live. Signing off now, this is Anna, and I wish you the best health always.